Welcome to Mighty Married Moms. Join us at our kitchen table twice a week as the Mighty Married Moms, Debbie, Linda, Wendy, invite spectacular guests to weigh in on staying sexy, vibrant, and healthy, building marriages with soul-satisfying connection, raising happy, healthy, successful kids. Conversations with Mighty Married Moms will bring you closer to the life you really want. Episode 64. Hi everyone, welcome back to Mighty Married Moms. I'm Wendy Williams,
Linda Tighe,
and Debbie Owen.
And we're glad to be here with you this Thursday. And we are really happy that we just had an awesome opportunity to talk with Dr. Scott Stanley,
yes,
who is the coordinator for Center for Marital and Family Studies at the University of Denver, along with being my own personal Tom Cruise. As a marriage educator, as a relationship coach, I got to tell you that the work of Dr. Scott Stanley just makes my heart go pitter-patter. He is a brilliant man. He's committed. He's caring. He's a good guy, and he's awful funny.
Yeah, he was great. It was a great conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So one of his key pieces is the concept of sliding versus deciding, which you can just bring that concept all the way from before you get married, when you're married, and so forth. And the before you get married is the biggest sort of, I guess, misnomer or myth out there, is that actually living together before marriage is a really good idea about commitment. And it turns out it really isn't.
If you're saying that that's how you're going to decide we're going to be committed. You know, I think if you decide we are committed, we're going to get married, and you live together, it's different than if you say, well, let's test market,
right,
so to speak, right?
Test market one another. Or if you just say, you know, let's just live together, be cheaper, be easier. What he said was it becomes harder to disengage from that, and you just kind of say, well,
we're here.
We're sharing this rent now.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, you know,
what a pain to go through in order to get out of it.
And I'm childbearing age, I guess. Well, I'm living with you. I guess I must love you. and so you slide into these things as opposed to being very conscious and very intentional about it. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting work. And then of course the piece about sliding versus deciding when you're in marriage. You know, you just kind of say, oh, you know, you let things slide, like going, you know, what do you call it? Positive time? No.
Yeah. It was positive time together.
Positive time together.
Yep.
I guess he doesn't want to say date night anymore. I don't know. But positive time together, positive regard. Sometimes you just kind of let that sort of stuff just slide, and you're not really filling up. This is my word. You're not really filling up your tank for when the tough stuff comes that you really have to roll up your sleeves and deal with. You really know that this person cares about you. You really know that you have a positive regard and a kind, benevolent approach to one another when you have to talk about things where you're on opposite sides of the fence.
Right.
So I see it that way, is that you know you're just letting bad habits, if you will, take over rather than healthier habits. But yeah, what other things struck you about our talk with Dr. Scott? Or Tom Cruise?
Yeah. Well, I think just the thing that I mentioned too is as the parent of 3 young adults, the whole idea of whether or not you cohabit before you get married is a viable option was really intriguing to me. I even talked to somebody, I can't remember now who it was, about a month or so ago, who was saying, oh, I'm definitely telling my kids that they should live together before they get married because you don't want to have to make that mistake and then have to go through all the pain and the hassle of getting divorced and all this other stuff. And I didn't say anything at the time because clearly she had her mind made up and nothing that I said was going to change her mind. But, you know, I had some questions about it at that point, and I'm really glad to hear from Scott that my hesitation was actually accurate, and that deciding to cohabit isn't necessarily the best way to decide to be with somebody.
Right. I've actually heard him say that there are zillions of studies on cohabitation that prove the same point over and over and over again. Well, that it just doesn't work.
I was shocked to hear that 40% of married couples began as a hookup.
That is huge.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
That was really stunning.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I get the, you know, that magnetic attraction
Yeah.
for sure, but it's really, that was very fascinating to me. I really, because I'm pretty old-fashioned that way, and I always have been, even as a young girl. I just like, I you know, it's just not how I work. So it was just really, it just was very fascinating.
Right. And then you mix that.
Talk about sliding in.
Right.
So
you
to
know,
speak,
if you're gonna,
sorry. Wendy, did you say that out loud?
She said it out loud.
I walked right into that one, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's true, right? I mean, to have some kind of intense experience like that before you even know somebody, and then you've got this like, oh, I guess we're committed to each other somehow, or we have this intimacy that we don't actually have.
Right, because you don't
Right.
know each other.
Right.
You don't know
Right.
each other.
Right.
So why does it make sense to have that kind of intimacy before you know somebody?
Right.
I mean, a lot of people do it. A lot of people do it.
A lot of people do it. Now, we didn't go this route. I wish we had. Maybe we can when he said he'd come back. And that is that if 40% of people start their marriage as a hookup, and we have roughly a 50%,
Divorce rate?
40%, 30% divorce rate. Now, I'm sure that they're not the same people. And as he said toward the end of our conversation, that anybody can say, you know what, I haven't been really dedicated or really thoughtful or intentional about this relationship, but I'm taking charge of myself and how I am in my home and my family and my relationship with you starting today. That anybody can change and become committed, become intentional, and become decisional, as he said. But that's an interesting thing, the 40% and then the high divorce rate. That could be a correlation there. I don't know. Didn't
That's
ask
true.
him. I'm sure he would have mentioned it, but
That's true.
as a good researcher that he is. But, and did you love the Odie reference?
Everybody has a good front end, very cute front end, and then there's always a back
And
end.
there's always a back end.
You should tell this story though, because
Yeah, that's
you
true. Not
haven't heard
everybody's
the other-
listened to it, right?
Yeah.
So Odie is his Bichon Frise
Yeah.
dog that when they got him 14 years ago was this 4-pound cute ball of fur and just cute as anything, and the whole family was like, oh, Odie! And so they brought him home, and it's all wonderful. But all dogs, all puppies have a back end that needs attention, and they're not as lovable on that side of the things, and it can be kind of messy, and it can be kind of you have to pick stuff up and throw it away. There are some things in life that you have to train
all
them.
that work. A lot of work.
There's a
Puppies are
lot.
a lot of work.
There's a lot. And you know what? To take the analogy further, you also have to care and feed for the front end too, right? You literally
Absolutely.
have to feed the front end.
Absolutely.
So it's not only about the backside being, but without the backside, the front end wouldn't be so healthy,
That's
right?
right. And
So-
cute.
and cute, right? So there's all sorts of things that we have to work on and be intentional about, and things that are not easy to do. But so the Odie analogy says it's one of my favorite analogies
Yeah,
I've
that's
ever
a
come
good
up
one.
with in my whole teaching career to illustrate marriage and attraction and the work involved. It's not all fun and games.
Right, and I think, I would guess anyway, that the intention of living together or saying we should live together before we get married is so that we make sure we like the back end, I guess. But I don't think you necessarily are going to love all the parts of the back end. You have to commit and say, I love you, and we are going to make a way to work our back ends so they...
Oh my goodness gracious.
And Linda's off and running.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's not like
totally.
you're gonna test it out, and if I don't like the back end so much, then the front end isn't gonna be as cute anymore. Or if
Whose back end is cute?
nobody's back end is cute. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Some back ends are pretty cute.
No, but I mean, I always say to, well, I don't always say to people, but one thing that comes to mind is, you get married and you stand up before, God and others and your whole community, and you say yes, and you seek out, you guys are going to help us stay connected, and we're glad to be a part of society in this way. And then, 24 hours later, somebody ends up in a wheelchair. Do you say, I'm going to leave? I imagine that does happen. But I mean, that's what commitment is. It's like, I'm here for you. I love you no matter what. And that's what I think what we all want in a relationship is a soft place to land that we say, this person's never going to turn away from me. And it takes some work and some understanding about how the human brain and the heart work. There are differences between how men and women approach these things. There are differences culturally. There is a lot going on in there. And so it does take some intentionality into being awake and to realizing, oh, we're getting a puppy, kids. This is true, but he needs to be walked. We need to train him. We're going to slip on a thing of pee in the kitchen, sure enough, before the next 6 months are out, whatever. Yeah. You just have to recognize that there are things that need to be dealt with.
Yeah, I was just going to say that on the intention thing, I've always felt like culturally, I feel like we have very few rituals.
True.
We have the death ritual, and the marriage ritual to me is just so vital. It was very powerful for my husband and I. on our wedding day. You really can't describe. We're the same two people going into the ceremony, but somehow looking out, as Wendy just said, all your friends there, looking at you, saying, we're here to support you, and you're saying, we are going to commit to each other for a lifetime.
Yep.
Very publicly, we felt completely transformed after. It was really, the relationship just instantly felt deeper. It was very fascinating to me. I didn't even expect it. I just wanted to celebrate, and I thought it was a celebration, all that stuff, but I just was amazed at that my whole body felt different. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to talk a little bit more about intentionality and choice. Some stuff I've been listening to from Tony Robbins, so I'll give him full credit, okay? But he talks about the 3 different levels of marriage. The first level is, so level 1 is where it's all about me. And I come into this marriage, I come into the relationship because I want to know what I'm going to get out of it. What can you do for me?
What's in it for me?
What's in it for me? And then the second level, which isn't quite so bad, if you want to use that word, but the second level still has its problems. It's more of a partnership, but it's I give so that I can also take. I'm going to help take care of you, but you need to take care of yourself as well. So there's some real issues with that level as well. I'd like to, I'll put my hand up and say I had a conversation with my husband about this weekend, and we're at that level more often than we would like, because at level 3 is where it takes decisions, which is what's related to what we're talking about today with Scott Stanley. It makes it's a decision and an intentionality of saying, I love you no matter what, and I'm going to give to you 100% no matter what. And your goals and your aspirations and your values and desires become mine.
That's right.
And that is the level at which marriages blossom.
Yeah.
And that's where everybody feels like it's love. Even at level 2, it doesn't feel like it's love. It feels like it's
obligation.
Obligation, a job, work, whatever. When it becomes level 3, where you give 100% without expecting anything in return, although ideally they'll give 100% also. When you're at level 3, and you've chosen it, and you decide every single day, because it is a daily choice to love somebody, whether it's a partner or a child or a parent or whomever, you decide every single day, I'm going to love you, and that's level 3, and that's where you're fulfilled. That's where you get your spiritual and emotional and physical and enrichment.
Yeah, that's really powerful. That really felt. I really felt that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the. I think that's at the root of what the fantasy is, or whatever, when you're a little kid saying, I want to get married, is that there is some, and it's probably more selfishly oriented, but there's somebody in the world for whom I am their sun, their moon, their stars, and their, that might be the selfish part of it. Like, I want to be somebody's best person, and I want them to think about me 24/7. And hopefully, when you get older and wiser and more spiritually developed, or whatever the right word is, that you say, how can I be that to somebody else?
Right, that's the difference.
How can I be that to somebody else? And I don't know, does Tony Robbins mention there's some sort of time frame to that? Like, the first 7 years, or...
No, he didn't talk about it at all.
Not time.
This is a commitment.
You could probably get to the commitment piece if you thought about it and wanted it and said, that's the kind of person I want to be.
Right.
I am totally into you and interested in you, and your dreams are my dreams, and I'm gonna try to think every day about how I can make that happen.
And Tony acknowledges that we all live at each of those levels or we all visit each, I think that's the word, we all visit each of those levels once in a while. Yeah. We all do. So, sure. But if you live at level 1 or level 2, you're never going to have the fulfilling marriage relationship that you really want.
Interesting.
You can't live at 1 or 2, you have to live at 3.
Because I think there are people who on their wedding day or whatever, or right at the commitment point, say to themselves, that's the kind of life I want to live. I want to be a 3. I want to be a level 3 person.
And then you have to decide every day you wake up. Yeah. That's what you're going to do.
Right.
Because that's when you find out there's a back end.
Yeah. Right. So then that would be the decide and not allow yourself to slide.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Don't slide through that level 3 phase.
Right.
For those of us who've been married a long time. Because his Scott's research is not just about before you get married in the beginning. It's
all the way through.
Carries all the way through those deciding rather than sliding.
Yeah, there's lots of decision points all along the path and along the journey.
Every day is a decision point.
Right. Yeah. And decide is having intention. Yeah. Sliding is
not being conscious.
Just kind of unconscious. Exactly.
You're just being
or being afraid to decide. Could be either
Sitting
one.
on the fence.
Could be either one.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yep, and there's lots of distractions if you don't want to be that way in your relationship, right? Your kids or your this or that. You can get really busy and just really ignore that part. It's so easy to do.
It is.
So
One of the other great researchers in this field, or a real hero of mine again, is John Gottman, Dr. John and Julie Gottman, and one of the things that they talk about is downstream. If you want your kids to have, better life, better grades, better, be more wholesome, whatever the right word is that you want to say, upstream is the relationship between the parents. It really is. And so that intentionality has a ripple effect that is really huge, really huge. And let's face it, these are the people that are going to be taking care of us when we're old. So we want them to be good human beings, right? So anyway.
Well, we want them to have good relationships when they become adults.
We do.
That's really the key.
We do.
Yeah.
And modeling that, is no small matter.
Yeah.
It's no small matter. Growing up around that and swimming in that that's what they're going to absorb.
Yep.
And so to be intentional.
Yep.
And so that's why we're here every Monday and Thursday anyway. As Mighty Married Moms, that's what we do. Right? That's how we roll. So that's it for today. And we want to thank again Dr. Scott Stanley for his time, and we look forward to having him come back and join us. And you can find him at slidingversusdeciding.com. As he said, you can just Google Sliding versus Deciding and Stanley, and he should be right there on the top. And he's got a YouTube video out there called, what was it? Prep DUI? I believe it was Prep DUI.
Or Marriage DUI, something like that. We'll put it in the notes.
We'll put it in the notes. But a 4-minute video that really is, I guess, a very powerful one to talk about how to really optimize and strengthen your marriage. So, until next time, again, we're Mighty Married Moms. I'm Wendy Williams.
Linda Tighe.
And Debbie Owen.
Yep. And please make sure that you go on iTunes, rate and review, and subscribe, and let your friends know, because don't keep this to yourself. Don't keep this a secret. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Mighty Married Moms. Tune in twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays to meet fascinating and inspiring guests who will help you create the life you've always wanted.
You can find these episodes and special gifts just for you at mightymarriedmoms.com, as well as a link to our Facebook community,
where we continue the conversation around the kitchen table. Please also help share the love by leaving a review on iTunes. We'll see you next time.